Allah, that this is beneficial. And a hujjah for us, not against us on judgment day. Okay. How many of you heard about the pizza joke? And then we'll start the show. Anybody hear about the pizza joke?
Nobody.
Nobody? You guys live in Ohio and nobody heard about the pizza joke. Khalas is too cheesy. Never mind.
Why?
See, those jokes are so corny where you have to laugh out of sympathy for the person telling the joke, because it means they have a lot of courage to actually say such corny jokes. So you laugh like, okay, we're just gonna laugh, so we don't need to look bad, right? So what do you call a bear without teeth? Huh? What do you call a bear without teeth?
I don't know.
A gummy bear.
A gummy bear? Are you kidding me? I was just going to say gummy bear.
Okay, all right. I don't know, around with Somali people, I always feel comfortable. That's why I just talk and I let go and I just say whatever comes to mind. I feel comfortable with you guys.
I don't feel comfortable right now.
You don't feel comfortable right now? All right. We'll seriously start the topic, inshallah. I ask that you all give me your undivided attention simply because I feed off of your energy. So if I find that you're diddling on your phone, if I find that you look bored and you're not interested, I'm going to feed off of that energy, and that's negative energy, and that does not help you. Plus, number 2, I'm a guest, so I have a right over you. And number 3, I'm feeling a bit sick, so you should feel a little bit sympathetic, inshallah ta'ala, towards me. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم يسر لي امري واشرح لي صدري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي آمين. Euphemisms and linguistic manipulation. What do I mean by this? The definition of euphemisms is basically to say something in a different way or in a different format. Euphemisms is to say something differently. And I'll give you a few examples as to what that means. You can say basically euphemism, you can call it linguistic manipulation, you can call it cognitive manipulation. It has many ways. In other words, you're trying to get a message across, but instead of saying it a certain way explicitly, you say it a different way. I'll give you an example. A good way, this could be used positively and it could be used negatively. So you can use euphemisms. It could be an advantageous usage, but it can also be used to deceive and manipulate simpletons and good-hearted, genuine people. So it has two uses. One is to manipulate people, and one is just to say things and to be sensitive and to be consciously sensitive of people's emotions. Number 1 is, we'll give you a good example. When you use a euphemism, when someone asks you about fulan, someone asks you about someone in your family member and they died, instead of you saying that person died and hit his head on the concrete, that's being too graphic and explicit, and you can come off as being awfully insensitive, right? So instead of you saying that, you try to cover it and you say, Wallahi akhi, he's no longer with us. That person is going to understand that that person is dead, right? Right? So you don't have to be graphic and explicit about it and say, Wallahi, he got into an accident, he hit his head on the wall, or he hit his head on the telephone pole. You don't have to be that graphic. All you can do is say, Wallahi, that person is no longer with us. That's a positive usage of euphemisms. Another one is, instead of saying someone, you don't have to say, like, instead of, you gotta make wudu and you have other things to do, you don't have to be graphic or explicit as to what you want to do and the nature of your needs. You can just say, can you show me where the restrooms are? You don't have to say what you're doing and what you're not doing and why you're going to the restroom. You see what I mean? Okay, that's a euphemism. And there are many. Euphemisms are used in government, they're used in politics, they're used in economics, they're used in politics, they're used in religion, they're used in just public speaking and public corrupt people. This is when the usage of euphemisms becomes awfully dangerous. Okay? I'll give you the dangerous examples. Not too long ago, you can go to the store, and if you're purchasing certain products and you're diabetic, it says on the box, it says sugar-free item. Now, what do they mean by sugar-free item? I'm not sure if this has changed or not. But when you're looking for a sugar-free item, it doesn't mean that it's completely void of any amounts of sugar. All this means is that it doesn't have sugar or cane sugar. But it does contain aspartame, in all these other artificial kinds of sugar. So if you're diabetic and you're getting something that says sugar-free, this is something that the Food Administration has used to manipulate the people and to get away with it and to administer a law so they can sell a lot of these products under a false label. And I want to repeat that one more time. You go to the store, you're a diabetic. You go for a product that says sugar-free. It's not really sugar-free. All they're telling you, it says sugar-free on the box. But they can get away with it. Do you know why they can get away with it? Because they're using false euphemisms. So it does contain sugar, but it doesn't contain raw sugar or cane sugar. It contains artificial sugars, like aspartame and other kinds of sugars. I'll give you example number 2. Not too long ago, they were looking to increase the taxes. Now, when you tell someone, we're going to increase your taxes, that sounds repulsive. If you come to any citizen in any country and you tell them, we're going to now increase the taxes, we need revenue, people are not going to take that well. People are going to revolt. People are going to ask questions. People are going to find that repulsive, right? And that's confrontational. So what they did is they went behind closed doors, and instead of using the word tax increase, they used the word and they implemented a different word. It's called revenue enhancement. Now look at the difference. The concept, the ma'na is one. They don't want to use tax increase, but they want to use revenue enhancement. Now, the word enhancement, that sounds good. Right? When you say we're going to enhance your life, the word enhancement, linguistically, it's a good thing. Enhancement is to make better and to amend, right? But when we say we're going to increase your taxes, a lot of people are going to have a problem with that. Now, when this person who implemented this and conjured up this concept, this euphemism specifically, he was asked, why did you do such a thing? He said, what better way to sell economic policy than the route of euphemisms? Listen to this. This is important. He was asked, why did you do this? He said, what better way to sell economic policy than the route of euphemisms? In other words, it's camouflaged, but it's made to appeal to the person, and it's made to appeal to you looking at it from the outside in. Now, this is just one of many examples. And if you're looking to find out more on this subject, I advise you to read a book by William D. Lutz. William D. Lutz. The book is called Double Speak. Very fascinating book. So many examples that he gives. Again, it's called Double Speak by William D. Lutz. You can look at it at the video later on, inshallah ta'ala, so you can get somewhat of an idea of what it is. Okay, we are living in a time, my brothers and sisters, where everybody is out there competing for your attention. Markets are looking for your attention. Economies are looking for your attention. People are looking for your, marketers are looking for your attention. Businesses are looking for your attention. Does that sound negative? Does that sound bad? That sounds like it's going to add value to the neighborhood, right? When someone says, hey, we're going to add a development resource park, you're like, hell yeah, for sure, why not? Yeah, that's going to bring the value of my home up, mashallah, right? And then you pray, shukr, until you go there years later and you find out that it's actually a dump. But why didn't they use the word dump? Do you know why? Because people are not going to accept that the city now is going to come and build a dump. So instead of saying we're going to just build a dump, they called it a resource natural center. You guys get what I mean? Okay, that's kind of an intro of what euphemisms are. Now moving from that, Sheikh Ibn al-Qayyim, he calls this a shubha, meaning that a shubha linguistically is derived from the word yashbahu. Yashbahu is to resemble someone, shabah. For example, we say, Fulan fihi shabahun li fulan. Fulan, this person resembles that person. Is this your father? Barakallahu fihi wa barakallahu fihi. We say, Hada shiblu min hada al-asad. Right? So we say, this cub is from this lion. Alright? That's a compliment. Okay, that's a good thing. And I'm not using euphemisms, by the way. So what happens is, Ibn Qayyim, when he defines the word shubha, what does shubha mean? Shubha here, he says, innama, and this is a very beautiful definition, and I urge a lot of you here to memorize it. He says, innama summiyat ash-shubhatu shubhatan lishtibahi al-haqqi bil-batili fiha فإنها تلبس ثوب الحق على جسم الباطل. I want to repeat that one more time. He says the definition of a shubha, according to Ibn al-Qayyim, alayhi rahmatullah, he says, إنما سميت الشبهة شبهة لاشتباه الحق بالباطل فيها فإنها تلبس ثوب الحق على جسم الباطل. What does that mean in English? He says the reason why a shubha is called a shubha because it resembles the truth. From the outward, its outward appearance on the exterior, it comes off and it appears as the truth. But what the shubha does is that it's clothed on the skeleton of falsehood. You guys get that? It's clothed on the skeleton. The skeleton, in other words, it's like going for, imagine if you go for a bottle of water and you're looking for water. But on the outside it's covered and it looks good. And it says water and it gives you all the vitamins. When you open it up, it's infested with worms. So in other words, that's why marketers spend multi-million dollars to market candies, for example, candies for kids, or even shoes to youngsters, or clothes for anybody, whether old or young. So on the outside, it looks appealing. But if you were to consider, for example, let's take the examples of candy. Candies taste good. They're meant to taste good. They're meant that when you have one, you have a second, and when you have a second, you have a third, and when you have a third, you have a 33rd. Candies, Oreos specifically, and I don't urge anybody to eat Oreos or to buy this garbage for their kids. This stuff is garbage. Even though our subject is not about Oreos, right? Yeah. Oreos, you have one, and you're done with the box in a few minutes if no one says stop. But if the auntie makes the cookies at home, you eat one and two and you're done. The Oreos, you eat one, you want a second, a third, a fourth, and you're on and on, right? When I think of gender equality, and I ask the sisters to please give me a chance to please, at least to kind of get my, talk about gender equality. When you look, and I talked about this a while back, you think of the word equality, the word positive, okay? So the itself has a very good positive meaning. But when you add the word gender to it, this is when it becomes somewhat problematic. Why? Because under Islam, there are certain things where Islam allows and approves of, in terms of both genders doing the same, but there are certain things that Islam says it's a red line. There's no such thing as gender equality. For example, in Islam, you cannot have gender equality when it comes to marriage. The man in Islam has to pay the dowry. It's not the woman. And it's not my job to come today in the 21st century and say, you know what, men have been paying the dowry for so many years. Now it's the woman's job, since they're working, they're independent, it's their job to start paying us the dowry. Hada hukmullah, we have to agree and acknowledge that this is the way things are. The man in Islam has to provide for his wife, even if his wife is a six-figure income earner. I cannot come today as a man, or we men cannot come today and say, we're tired of providing for the women. We want the women to start providing for us. We're tired, we're done. Or they can pay 50-50. You guys get where I'm going with this? So here's the scariest thing above all, is that when we literally adopt these concepts and we go to war for these concepts. So for example, the minute a brother or an imam comes and says gender equality the way the liberals understand it, there's no room for that understanding in Islam. Sisters or brothers, they will literally go on a tantrum and they will go out to tarnish you and bring you down to ruins. Why? Because they've adopted a concept without first filtering that concept through what? The filter of Islam. That's why, if you can take anything from tonight's lecture, before adopting any concept, ask yourself, or ask someone of knowledge, Sheikh, what does Islam say about this concept? Because when you adopt it and you become emotionally attached, guess what? When emotions are involved, it becomes very, very difficult and close to impossible to wean and detach you, since emotions are now involved. And that's why people, the minute you say Islam doesn't acknowledge gender equality the way the liberals do, you're immediately met with this, you're confronted with this hatred, and immediately people get all emotional, and what are you trying to say? Are you not for women's rights? And the list just goes on and on. So gender equality in Islam, we don't have such a thing. There are certain things, but we cannot. Here's why. Under postmodernism, you can have gender equality all you want. Because under postmodernism, everything is relative, nisbi. Nisbi meaning you can change it however you want, whenever you want. There's no framework that you have to stay within. I, as a Muslim, I can't compete with those people. I cannot compete with them. Do you know why? Because I have a framework. I have a Lord telling me this is right and this is wrong. I have to stick within those parameters, right? But the person who doesn't believe in God and believes everything is relative, what's moral for me is immoral for you, and what is immoral for you is moral for me, then they can do whatever they want. So we're talking about we're talking about comparing apples and oranges. We can't, the comparison, the premise in itself is very, very bad to begin with. The examples are many. Like when people say, well, Islam is all about, here's why. Muslims will go to bat and fight for the concept gender equality, because again, gender equality comes off as a nice proposal, as a genuine good proposal, right? But then again, when you filter it, you're like, well, we can't apply this. Because if we were to say, well, we want to apply gender equality, that means what? That means that I, as a man, I'm going to have a fit and say, you know what? I want to wear gold. That's discrimination. I, as a man, I want to start wearing gold. Yeah. Because some people will have a fit and say, what? How come women can't do ABC? Okay, well, how come men can't do ABC? We men, we can't wear gold. And guess what? We men, we can't do it on our own. I've seen many sisters say, men are trash, we can do it on our own. May Allah forgive you. May Allah forgive you. I have yet to see men who are saying, the hell with women, we men can do it on our own. Because men won't do that. That's stupid of a man to even consider doing that. Men will never be able to do it on their own. Women will never be able to do it on their own either. Even if they were putting out these slogans, right? We're here to complement each other. This is not a war to pit men against women and women against men. So moving on from gender equality. So for instance, today, if you were to say that a man can do something and a woman can't, under Islam, is that considered gender justice or is that considered gender discrimination?
Gender justice. Discrimination.
Under Islam.
Oh, under Islam? Oh.
This is very gender justice, right? But for a woman, a non-Muslim woman, when her looking from the outside in, is she going to look at that and say, oh, that's your religion, I respect it, that's gender justice, or is she going to say that's gender discrimination? Okay, now what does this mean? This means we Muslims have our way of defining definitions. Do not jump on the bandwagon every time you hear something that appears to be good. Do not jump on something simply because everybody's repeating it. Do not adopt something because you see every author writing it and finishing it at the end of their book. Everybody's repeating it, but it doesn't mean that it's coherent. Everybody's saying it, but it doesn't mean it's coherent and it makes sense. Okay? I want to move to number 2. Islamic reform. Now, when you say we want to reform Islam, again, linguistically, the word reform means to amend and make better. So when people come in and they say, well, we don't want to dismantle Islam, we want to reform Islam. The word reform, does that carry positive connotations or does that carry negative connotations?
Negative. What?
Positive. We want to reform. Linguistically, if you were to Google right now, the word reform means to amend and make better. Okay? That's why when you're debating with anybody, you have to first understand what are your definitions. What do they mean by words? Words have meanings. Ya Jama'ah, words have meanings. When you say, I want to reform, okay. Sounds very nice of you. Well, what do you mean by reform? Like, what are you looking to reform? Because Islam in itself came to reform. Islam came to reform and gave women its rights in its infancy stages when it came. Right? Now, the word tajdeed, reform means tujaddid, is to renew in Islam. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he does say, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ لِهَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ عَلَى رَأْسِ كُلِّ مِئَةِ عَامٍ مَنْ يُجَدِّدُ أَمْرَ دِينِهَا. The Prophet ﷺ, he did say in the sound hadith that Allah will send on every century, at the turn of every century, a man who will renew its religious affairs for it. Okay, what do we mean by reform here?
Is there a question?
No, I want you to just follow me here. When we say we want to reform Islam, who's actually wanting to reform? And we want to reform what exactly? We want to allow women to give the khutbahs. That's not called Islamic reform. That's called innovation in the religion. That's not called reform. We want to allow men to marry men and women marry women in Islam. That's not Islamic reform. That's a huge innovation in Islam. We want to allow men to drink. We want to allow women to drink. We want to allow women to marry Christian men and Jewish men. That is not called reform. Do you guys get where I'm going with this?
Yes.
That is not, even though the word reform on the surface of it, it sounds good, it sounds appealing, but is it genuine?
No.
Does it mesh well with our principles as Muslims?
No.
It doesn't. It doesn't. So that's why we have to make sure that we pay attention to a lot of these concepts and what they mean. A concept and what they mean. Okay, women's rights. I want to share with you, I remember growing up and listening to the radio station, and there were always ads for women to come to the club for free. How many of you guys heard that? Women in for free until 10, or women in, no cover charge until midnight, right? And of course, the good-hearted young lady is listening to that, and she's thinking it's out of love and honor for that club to get her in at midnight until for free, right? She's listening to that, and she's like, oh my God, mashallah. Well, she was mashallah because she's not Muslim. But she's excited, and she'll go to the club, right? Until midnight. Women are in until midnight for free. Is that out of honoring women?
No.
Huh?
No.
Is that out of honoring women that they will allow women in until 10 o'clock?
No.
Okay, now imagine if the guy, no cover until midnight. Women, please bring your friends and come along. We will be there. Okay. Everybody gets up pretty up and they go, right? Everybody sends text messages and girl, you gotta come. Okay. What if the person, instead of saying it like that, he said something different? Women, listen up. We want to use you and exploit you and use you as a tool tonight. We want you to come for free so we can have you there. And when the men hear that you're here for free, they're all going to come. And why you will be in here. Please come on by. How many women will come?
Zero.
None.
The denominator is one. The ma'na, the meaning is one. What is it? Is to exploit women, is to use women as a tool to make more money from the men. Because when more women are there, what does that mean? Men are going to be there. Here's the thing. You have to pay attention to these things. Because this is just one example in the midst of thousands, if not millions of other examples that are out there. The average girl listening to that thinks it's, oh girl, we are for free. Yeah, but I mean, using you as a tool. Now, if you were to ask any average American girl, how do you feel about someone using you as a tool? Oh my God, I'll never let anybody do that. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, why is this a problem, but you'll happily go to the club until midnight or 1 o'clock for free? What's the difference? But they take advantage. The system takes advantage of good-hearted people. All right? Here's another example. Enjoining good and forbidding evil. Okay? This is I know this gets a bit rocky. Enjoining good and forbidding evil. Today, what is that called? When you tell someone it's haram to do ABC, it's not permissible to do XYZ, what are you usually met with? Who are you to judge? You don't know what's in my heart? We're all sinners. Are you the haram police? Why are you being so judgmental? Do you think you're better than me? Why don't you worry about your mistakes? Worry about your faults? You just say something is haram today, and all hell breaks loose. You're judgmental, and you're looking for the faults of everybody in the ummah, right? Okay, now in Islam, when you give nasiha, do we have any sahabi or any tabi'i, when he's given nasiha, or he gives someone nasiha, they reply and say, dude, you're like so judgmental, man. Do we have any of that?
No.
So giving advice, is it analogous to being judgmental?
No.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me repeat. Giving advice, does that mean you're judgmental and you're looking for everybody's faults? No, not at all. But today we are afraid of giving advice. Do you know why? Because everybody's...
We park your car outside the fence, they are told you. Everybody who park his car outside? Yeah, outside the fence.
And this is not a euphemism, this is like real. Like, get out and get your car. Like he doesn't need anything else. He's needing like your car, not your Lego car. Your car is being towed. Okay, let me, this is important, especially for the younger generation, right? Like when someone comes and gives you advice and just says, the only thing they say is, brother, well, I just want to let you know, I saw you earlier praying, the lower part of your back was shown, I just want to let you know that that nullifies your prayer, brother. There are two people. One kind is going to say, brother, well, thanks for reminding me, I had no idea that it nullifies my prayer, I'll make sure to do better next time. Another person says, you're so judgmental. You're looking for my faults. We're all sinners. Why don't you worry about yourself? Are you the haram police? Well, we should just worry about ourselves. You know what? It's because of people like you, I'm never coming back to the masjid again. You feel like giving nasihat today is like committing murder. Giving advice today, it's literally like committing murder. You're met with a barrage. You're met with a barrage of excuses. Just because you gave brother advice, you tell a brother, those jeans are a bit too tight, don't you think? All hell breaks loose. Oh, it's because of people like you, I'm never coming back to the masjid. Why are you always looking for the faults of people? And it just never fails, right? I'm going to open up a bracket here. I'm going to go into tantrum for 5 minutes, right? I've heard recently of brothers or sisters, a sister, maybe you'll have an auntie, right? An elderly, who says, oh, why are you dressed like that, sister? That's not appropriate for the masjid or whatever. And the sister makes the decision to never come back to the masjid, right? Okay. Why is it that we will never come back to the masjid? Simply because someone looked at us the wrong way. That's all that happened. Now, let's imagine you were at the club, you were at the gym, you were at the mall, and you were kicked out, you were spat on, you were taken out in cuffs, you were hit, you were kicked, and you were thrown out of the mall. You are already finding ways to come back in the following day. Listen, you're kicked, you're spat on, you're dragged out, you're thrown out of the mall. You've already found ways to come back tomorrow. Man, you know what? I'm kicked out of this exit. I know who he is. I'm going to go through the other exit. But when it comes to the masjid, oh my God, he looked at me the wrong way, so how will I never come back to this masjid? They're so judgmental. Brother gave you advice. What the hell are you talking about? The brother just gave you sincere advice. No one put you on blast. Someone came to you and said, well, hey, brother, I just want to give you advice. That's all. We've become sensitive to the easiest things. Oh my God, someone gave me advice. I need a cup of water. Come on, seriously, this is just, it's getting out of control. No, you don't put the person on blast. You don't do that. You give them advice, not publicly. You advise them in secret with love and compassion and respect. But we are mirrors of one another. I want to take step number 2. And again, I said I'm going to go on a quick tantrum real quick, right? You know how people say never judge me? How many of you heard that before? Who are you to judge? What if I were to tell you we are judging everyone and everything from the minute we wake up until the minute we go home? Do you know what all of you are doing right now? You're judging my delivery. All of you right now, except if you're on your phone and you're talking to your baby mom, all of you right now are doing what? You're judging my delivery. It's either a good lecture, you're enjoying it, or it's bad, I need to work on my approach, I need to work on my delivery, I'm too harsh, I'm too aggressive. All of you right now, from 1 to 10, if I were to ask you where's my lecture at, you're probably going to give me. Do you know what that's called? That's called judging. You know what judging means? Judging means to form an opinion or conclusion. That's all it means. That's all. We've made a monster out of the word judge. But let me go further, right? Why is it okay for you to judge everybody else, but for someone to judge you, that's like a no-no? Like, for example, right? Some of you might leave tonight and talk about my lecture and talk about what I said. I can't believe he said this about women. I can't believe he said this about men. Oh my God, how can you use such an example? That's just not, it befits the audience because it was a lot of children, right? Do you know what that's called? What is it called? I can't hear it.
Judging.
That's called judging, right? Okay, now it's okay for you to judge, but when someone judges you, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. Like you can critique and criticize other people, but when people criticize you, all of a sudden it's just, oh no, this is not going to go well. Why? Why when you judge people, it's all legitimate and kosher, but when people judge you, all of a sudden it's just this huge problem? Why? You guys get where I'm going with this? Do not fall for that language, that fancy language up there. And like I mentioned earlier in the khutbah, forgive me, when I mentioned in the khutbah, people who say never judge the book by the cover, I want to reiterate one more time. That is the most idiotic, the stupidest thing I've heard intelligent people say. Never judge the book by the cover. Okay. I'm going to open up another tangent. You know when you see someone at the corner of the block, and he's slanging dope, selling rocks, selling dimes, whatever he's doing. And you approach him, and he's reciting Surah Al-Fatiha like this. And you're like, your jaw drops. Did you hear that, brother? He's selling dope. He sounds like his sneeze, man. Do you say never judge the book by the cover? Always judge the book by the cover. Because is that an exception to the rule, or is that the rule? To see people who slang and selling dope to recite Surah Al-Fatiha like this. Is that an exception to the rule, or is that the rule? But this concept of never judge the book by the cover is idiotic. You know what that means? I'll give you an example and we'll move on back to our lecture. When you say never judge the book by the cover, do you know when you see someone asking for money on the side of the street? If we were to truly apply never judge the book by the cover, do you know what that will mean? That will mean that anytime I see someone poor asking for money, I should assume that that person is driving a Porsche, a Lamborghini, has a 3-car garage with a tree on the side, and he has a mansion. That's what that means. Did I confuse you?
No.
Did I confuse you?
No.
When I see someone asking for money on the side of the road, do I judge his situation by the cover, or do I go into assuming, you know what, he's on the side of the road, he doesn't look too clean, not making fun of them, ma'adallah, we ask Allah that He makes us grateful when we help out people, of course, I mean, but when I see them, am I supposed to judge the book by the cover or no?
No.
Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. The reason why Allah preferred this nation over every other nation is for one reason. For one reason. Because you enjoy what is good and you forbid what is evil. When we stop enjoying what is good and forbidding what is evil, do you know what happens? You know what happens? We're no longer the best nation. Okay? If you're not listening, listen right now. If you truly love me, my man in the back, you. Yeah, you with the face. Yes. If you love me and you care for me, and I'm going 80 miles an hour towards a brick wall, I would hope that you would grab me by any means possible and tell me, Akhi, you're going very fast towards a brick wall. I would hope that you would do that. I would hope that by you seeing me going 80 miles an hour, heading towards a brick wall, that you won't just say, who am I to judge him? Who am I to tell him it's haram? Who am I to tell him there's a brick wall? I'm not a judgmental person. I would hope if you cared and loved me, that you will tell me, Akhi, I just want to let you know, going down that route, you're going 80 miles an hour towards a brick wall. I would hope that if you truly love me and care for me, that you will tell me that. But I see you in the wrong and I turn a blind eye. I see you in the wrong tomorrow and I turn a blind eye. I see you doing wrong the next week, and all of us are like, look, let bygones be bygones. You see me doing wrong, turn the blind eye. I see you doing wrong, turn the blind eye. You don't care for me. If you cared for me, you would tell me. You would remind me. You would let me know that what I'm doing is perhaps wrong. Am I like just speaking in the way, or does this make sense?
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
All right. So, okay. So, when you give someone advice, are you being judgmental, or is it out of love and concern that you're giving advice for that person?
Love and concern.
So giving advice, does that make you judgmental?
No.
No. We have to get away from this. In this concept of don't let nobody judge you is another one of those stupidest, idiotic things that you'll ever hear. Don't let nobody judge you. You know when I tell you, you look nice, you know what I'm doing? When I tell you, sister, you look very beautiful in your hijab, mashallah,
Judging.
and I'm complimenting, of course, no one you shouldn't be doing that, right? Unless you're going to really propose, right? Isn't that called judging?
Yes.
When I say, brother, wallahi, you look very nice today, of course, you might get mad and say, well, what are you trying to say about the other days? Right? But when I say, brother, your haircut looks nice, am I judging you?
Yeah. No. Yeah, you are. Yes.
I'm judging you, right? But why would I say, when is the last time you've ever complimented someone, you said, man, you're looking good today? When is the last time you heard someone say in return, brother, who are you to judge me? How come we never hear that? When is the last time, sister, brother, you've ever complimented someone, and in return, that person said, brother, who in the world are you to judge me? I mean, thanks and everything, but who are you to judge me? Because you know what that person is doing? They're judging you. But here's why we react different. When you compliment someone, that feeds into our ego. And our ego likes it. So that's why it generates a smile. When you say, you're looking good, girl, or mashallah, bro, you look real nice. What do? Oh, mashallah, yeah, mashallah, yeah, I went to boy down there, cut me up, mashallah. You know, I'll smile, you feeling like you're like worth $1 million, right? But then you go to the masjid and someone says, brother, I just want to let you know your jeans are a little bit too tight. Woo! All hell breaks loose. Why? Because now the ego feels threatened. You guys see what's happening? The ego feels threatened now, and it's looking for a way to what? It's looking for a way to defend itself. So in defending itself, it's going to throw out the worst things possible. Who are you to judge? You don't know what's in my heart. Why are you looking? Basically, your nafs, your shaitan is going to make, and we'll elaborate more about this on Sunday, inshallah ta'ala. And I hope this is not confusing. Okay. Let's talk about ghayra. Is ghayra, having jealousy for your wife, your mother, or your sister, is that a noble concept in Islam, or is that something negative and bad?
No, good.
Good.
You're Hanafi, Shafi'i, said no. Any Malikis in here? Any difference of opinion?
No,
That's good. Is ghayra good in Islam?
yes.
Yes. Okay. When you tell, in America, for example, when you tell, okay, I was talking to this guy, right? And, no, let's not use that example. When you tell a man that there's no such thing as my wife going out on a ladies' night, bouncing around from club to club, an American is going to look at you and say, oh, dude, you're like so insecure, man. Like, my wife goes on girls' night like every weekend, bro. Yeah, sure she does. When you tell them, me and my wife don't play that, I'm not going around from bar to bar. I'm not going around from place to place. You know what they tell you? Oh my God, you're like so insecure. Okay, are you guys with me? They look at you and they say, dude, you're like, you don't trust your wife? I don't trust myself, let alone my wife. What are you talking about? I don't trust myself to go clubbing around and bouncing around from club to club, let alone my wife. I don't want that for my wife. My wife shouldn't want that for me. I'll give you another example. For a man not to want his wife joking around and laughing and giggling with another man, is that healthy, or does that mean you have an inferiority complex and you don't trust her and you lack confidence? What does it mean?
Healthy.
It depends on what. Are we talking about postmodernism, liberalism, secularism, or we're talking about Islam, right? Remember, we have two models, two foundations. Under Islam, that's healthy. You should not want, listen for you young men here, you should not want your wife, I don't want to say girlfriend because there's no such thing as girlfriend, right? You should not want your wife joking around, and you're there in the car and she's joking around, mashallah, oh brother Abdullah, you're like so funny, mashallah, and you're looking at that and you're just like, no, I trust her, mashallah, I don't lack confidence, I'm not insecure, I married her. You're joking and you're so joking, yeah, oh my God, and he's laughing and he's making her laugh. No, I'm not insecure. No, you shouldn't be playing that. No. If it's a respectful conversation, she needs something from him, he needs documents from her, but that's it. All the smiley faces and all this, what I'm trying to say is that for you to have ghayra, and guess what? Do women have jealousy, or is it just men?
Both.
They do.
I know. My wife, I'll give my wife as an example. I was going to say a man, but I'll just, when we go to a cash register, She'll basically want to be the one doing the conversation if it's a woman. I respect that. I don't have a problem with that. Call it insecurity, call it whatever you want. Okay? But there are women out there who will say, look, I don't want you joking around with so-and-so, or I think you got carried too far with the next door neighbor, I see you from the window. You have to respect that. As a woman and as a man, you have to respect that. But what I'm trying to say is that do not allow this society to convince you that you lack confidence and you're insecure. Because the fitrah is to have jealousy. Whether it's a woman for her man or a man for his wife or woman. I'll give you one prime example, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he was walking with his companions with a camel. When he saw Asma bint Abi Bakr, فَأَنَاخَ لَهَا الْبَعِيرِ, he took the camel and he brought it down. And he looked at Asma and he says, will you not ride with us? The first thing Asma said, she says, تَذَكَرْتُ غَيْرَةَ الزُّبَيْرِ فَامْتَنَعْتُ. She said, I remembered. This is so powerful. She said, I remembered my husband's jealousy, so I stopped. Period. No arguing, no bickering. She remembered. She didn't call him on the phone asking him. She didn't send him a text. She says, with the purest heart on this world, that he took the camel and he said, Asma, will you not ride? Asma's only response was, I remembered. Because every woman knows the nature of her husband, and every husband knows the nature of his wife. And for those of you who are not married, there'll come a day, inshallah ta'ala, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Asma said, I remembered my husband's jealousy, so I did not go. Now, why didn't Asma? Now, the Prophet, how did the Prophet react? Because you know when you talk about these things today, dude, like if she's gonna go with her cousin, it's not like he's gonna jump on her, like you're so insecure. I don't care, I don't want her going with her cousin. And them alone in the car. I'm not playing that. I don't care if it's her cousin. He's not a mahram, unless it's under an emergency. Now the Prophet, when he, listen, this is fitrah, this is organic, natural behavior. When she said that, the Prophet did not urge her to change her mind. The Prophet did not keep going and say, Asma, are you thinking bad of me? Asma, why would you say such a thing? Asma, do you not know I'm the Prophet of God? Asma, don't you know that your husband respects me greatly? Asma, I have the purest heart. I'm never going to harm you in any way. I'm not going to allow my mind to drift that far. Does the Prophet do that with Asma? No. What does he do? He sees her action, and the Prophet ﷺ gets the camel back up. He brings the camels and they continue. What does this mean? He respected her wish. Now the Prophet ﷺ, did he tell her, I must say, Asma, you're awfully insecure. Do you not trust me? You lack confidence, you know. Did he say this to her? Because we're being bombarded left, right, and center. The point of this, do not allow someone to tell you, dear brother or dear sister, that by having a healthy kind of jealousy, and since we're talking about jealousy, for all you men, I love you for the sake of Allah. I'm going to say this, not because I want to, but because I feel like I have to. It is not of rujula and manhood to have your wife on Facebook plastered with makeup and random men complimenting her photo. Period. Forgive me for just calling a spade a spade. This ain't right. This is not right. I don't care even if you say MashaAllah. That doesn't make it right. I'm sorry, I'm not putting anybody on blast. I love you guys. I want to come back to visit this community, but this is not right. This is not right. MashaAllah, sister. MashaAllah, what? We're supposed to say MashaAllah when we see something good. What is good about that? The husband, لا يتحرك فيه ساكن. The man sees that, it does nothing to him. And you want to shake him up like, man, do you have a heart beating inside? Like, bro, like this is not normal. Look at that. You're okay with that? Anyways, yeah, so I love you all for the sake of Allah. Okay, why is all this dangerous? Here's why. The reason why this is dangerous is for the following reason. If definitions change, I'm going to say it in Arabic and I'm going to translate it into English. إذا زال الوصف زال الحكم وإذا زال الحكم لم يعد للإسلام معنى. You guys get that? إذا زال الوصف زال الحكم وإذا زال الحكم لم يعد للإسلام معنى. If the description of something changes, then the ruling changes. And if the ruling changes, then there's no need for Islam. For example, the Prophet ﷺ, when he spoke about the end of time, he says that لا يأتين أقوام يشربون الخمر يسمونها بغير اسمها. There will be a time, there will come Muslims at the end of time who will drink intoxicants, but they will call it by other than its real name. You know, before, for those of you, some of you might remember this, you don't see places called liquor stores anymore, do you? What do you call? What are they called? No. Wine and spirits. Wine and spirits, it sounds elegant, nice. Liquor just, when you think of liquor, you think of some drunkard who can barely walk on the side of the road, right? I love that. Wallahi, I shayateen. Wallahi, they're shayateen. Real talk. When you take intoxicants and you start calling it by a different name, what does that mean? If you're not calling it intoxicants, then that means it's permissible. So that's why, brothers and sisters, definitions are very important. You have to, as a Muslim, know if you're being manipulated, if someone is exploiting you or not. Now, if I were to ask the $1,000,000 question, who started linguistic manipulation and who started euphemisms in general?
Nazi.
Huh? Who can tell me it's in the... Okay, well, what's the verse? La. Use euphemisms with them. See, everything goes back to shaitan. Everything. What's the verse? No. Sisters? Sisters. Any answers? Afwan, I'm sorry? Well, I'm going to put my ear in the microphone. Sister, any answers? Okay, no worries. I was reading this verse in my jaw literally dropped. It's beyond remarkable. It's in Surah Taha. All those hafaz, they didn't revise the Quran in years, and they're like, oh man, I'm joking. The verse, when Shaitan came to Adam, هل أدلك? Guys, in Surah Taha, just blew my mind. The first one to use linguistic manipulation and cognitive manipulation was Shaitan with Adam. What was the story between Shaitan and Adam, or between Allah and Adam? Allah commanded Adam not to eat from a certain tree, right? Now, what is that called? The forbidden tree, right? It's called the forbidden tree. Adam, eat out of everything in the Jannah, but do not eat from this specific tree, right? Shaitan comes along. So we have what's the definition of the tree? It's called the forbidden tree, right? Ash-shajara al-muharrama, right? Shaitan comes along. Does he say, oh, Adam, shall I not guide the forbidden tree that your Lord forbade you from before? Does he say that?
No.
Does he say that? No. What does he say? He says, Adam, listen to this. Adam, shall I not guide you to the eternal tree in a vast kingdom that will never evade or vanish? Is it? Because it has to be, someone is lying. It's either Shaitan, of course it's... Why does Shaitan come to Adam and call it the eternal? Why did he tell him? Why did he take away the definition of it being a forbidden tree to now the tree that's called the eternal tree? To deceive him. In this world, in this journey, you're going to come up. It is your job to realize and to be a critical thinker and to acknowledge.
No.
Was Shaitan bombarded by social media ads? Was Shaitan bombarded by commercials? Was Adam bombarded by commercials? No, right? There was nothing. There was no pressure on Adam alayhi salam. But he still got weak and he fell into the trap of Shaitan, right? What are we to assume about ourselves? Because some people might be listening to this and think like this is going to affect everybody except me. I know my business. I know where I'm at. I'm a critical thinker. You know, I'm above everything. He was in Jannah, the purest. So military or the in this life, what does Luka said that? If you were to follow the majority on earth, they will misguide you off of the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, I will end with false dichotomies. Okay, we have until 7, right? Perfect. Telling you indirectly, there's no such thing as option 3 or option C. Right? And high C and stuff like that, right? Here are very popular dichotomies out there. Alright? Is everybody who criticizes Islam an Islamophobe?
No.
Okay. If someone comes to the masjid and says, you were parked on my lawn, you were parked on my garage, and I wanted to back up and leave and go to the grocery store, but you blocked my garage. Does that make that non-Muslim an Islamophobe?
No.
So, simply because someone has legitimate grievances or criticisms against us Muslims, do we then label them as Islamophobes?
No.
You can't do that. That's called a false dichotomy. False dichotomy number 2 is what some of our sister feminists will say. May Allah forgive us and them, and may Allah open and give us insights. Allahumma ameen. The false dichotomy, legitimate prayer for women's rights. Is that Islam allows you that? So that's a false dichotomy. Is if you criticize women, you're a woman hater, you're a male chauvinist, and you do not want to see women empowerment. One does not negate the other. Okay? I'll give you another example. You know when George Bush, before going to war, what did he say? He says, you're either with us, with dumbing down the people. It's to stupefy the people, not to allow them to think out of the box. And this is what television is. You're either with us or against us. In other words, if I'm with you guys, that's problematic. If I'm with the dictator, that's also problematic. Well, no, how about, is there a third option? I don't advocate what you're doing, but I also don't advocate what he's doing back there, right, in the Gulf to his people. I don't agree with you, and I don't agree with him. But they don't give you that third option. There are other options out there. Do not feel confined to this manipulation. When you criticize Zionism, you're one of 2 things. You're either an anti-Semite or you're a neurotic, self-hating Jew. You guys see how they play a self-hating Jew, or B, you're an anti-Semite. Meaning, time where we want people just to praise us and to think positive about us, and we just kind of we just want to be sheeple, right? We don't want to be people. So these are false dichotomies. How do we conclude? How do some university, and he talks about revising Islam and reforming Islam, ask that person, can you recite Surah Al-Fatiha properly? We're not here to make fun of people, but really ask that person, can you recite Surah Al-Fatiha correctly? You're here to make you a better Muslim. The message are those who believe in Allah and His Messenger. You can't. But we hear a lot of these slogans in school and everywhere else. We pick up on them and we don't realize they have no merits in Islam. Learning by yourself, correct your more difficult than doing it properly the first time. You guys agree with me? I remember trying to learn Tajweed on my own. I'd read the page, I'd go to the sheikh, and now what the sheikh has to do, because now my tongue got used to the pronunciation a certain way. So as I'm pronouncing it, what the sheikh now has to do is he has to now disconnect. He has to get me away from my tongue pronouncing the word a certain way because I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. So now what the sheikh has to do is he has to drop, he has to break down, and then build up again. It would have been a but for the sheikh now to get that tongue or that twist, for him to correct that, it's going to take a lot of work. You know what I mean? So before you adopt a concept, a belief, a slogan, and before you start even writing certain things, who am I to judge? Only Allah can judge me. Oh, what the hell do you mean only Allah can judge you? Only Allah can judge us at the end, who goes to hell and who goes to Jannah, yes. But when you do a mistake out in public, when you're going 70 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, people are going to rightfully judge you. People are going to give you the birdie. People are going to call the cops. People are probably going to, go after you. People are probably going to look at you like, what in the world is that guy doing? 70 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone? Like, okay. When you do things out in public, you're going to get a reaction. So going back is knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. And for the youngsters, there's time for Facebook. There's time for YouTube. There's time for phones. And I'm not going to lie, I am completely against these kids having smartphones. I'm against it. You got kids 7, 8 years old. You're giving a lecture and you're like, every 2 minutes. Listen, parents, this is not healthy. Parents, this is not healthy. This is not healthy for them. We got adults who are addicted to the phones, let alone the little children. What is a 5, 7-year-old doing with a phone? Why? What do we need a phone for? Or another thing, and I don't go on a tantrum here, but what I'm trying to say is that I'll stick on knowledge. Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. There's a time for Facebook, there's a time for Twitter, there's a time for duck poses. Do you guys do duck poses and all that? No. You guys don't do duck poses? No. Yeah, here's a duck pose, right? Like when you grab the phone, you're like, you guys don't do that in Ohio? No. I think it's just Minnesota. Okay, it's a Minnesota problem, right? Okay, you guys are above and beyond that. Do you guys get where I'm going? Knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. My brothers and sisters, understand the times you're living in. And again, I really recommend that book. It's called Double Speak by William D. Lutz. I think you'll find that book to be very, very fascinating. One last thing, inshallah ta'ala, for us to remember is ad-du'a. The Prophet ﷺ himself, what did he used to say? Allahumma arina al-ashya'a kama hiya ala haqiqatiha. Oh Allah, show me things as they are, truthfully. In other words, oh Allah, show me things as they are, as they truly are. Because again, you might look at something, it looks appealing from the outside, the minute you open it up, it's infested with worms. A lot of our concepts that we're hearing today are exactly that. They look nice, they're appealing, they're packed meticulously on the outside, but the minute you open it up, you evaluate it, you scrutinize it, it's completely infested with worms. A lot of the slogans and concepts that we're hearing out there are exactly that. Okay? If anything was beneficial, it's from Allah and Him alone. Other than that, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins, keep in your dua. Are there any, I think Ali said he's going to have like a... No. Abshir, is Abshir around? Abshir. Okay, the reason, can anybody come up? Abshir was supposed to be here. He was supposed to do the translation, and so is the Abshir, can anybody do the... Just to take a few concepts of what I talked about. Ali, is Abshir around? Or is our brother Stahlmeyer going to do it? Okay. 4 or 5 points, 5-7 minutes. Huh? Listen to Ali. Trying to use euphemism. Nice way of saying, man, let's just get on with our lives. Let's put a Q&A. Right? That's the euphemism right there. I'm not even joking. Well, everybody understands, of course. They got it right on. That's the way of saying, let's just move to the Q&A. That's the euphemism right there. He's smart. He's smart. Any Q&A? Any Q&A quickly?
Q&A, anything. Can you repeat anything? You see them wearing the wrong clothes or they're not dressed properly. Can you repeat that again?
Okay.
How would they judge?
Brother Abshakor is asking, can I repeat the part when you see a brother or a sister coming to the masjid? Coming to the masjid, and they say, who are you to judge? When you give a brother advice, you're immediately met with the, who are you to judge? Okay. When you come to the masjid has guidelines and policies. Okay? When someone comes to the masjid, and for example, when you're making prayer, as you're making sujood, the lower part of your back is shown. A Muslim brother sees that. So you don't, your prayer is not nullified. A brother comes to you and gives you compassionate advice. With love, care, and wisdom, pulls you to the side. He says, brother, Assalamu alaikum, I just want to let you know that the lower part of your back was shown, and that nullifies the prayer. I just want to make sure, inshallah ta'ala, that, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'm sure you were not aware of that, just so you make it husn fun. So just a friendly reminder, second one. Some people take that, and they use that as an excuse to never come back to the masjid. The brother gave advice. Does that make him a monster? Does that make him someone who's looking for everybody?
هذا اسم شخص.
So he's basically saying that when you come to the masjid and someone or sister, same thing, sister, when you come to the masjid, someone gives you advice, take it with an open heart. They care about you. They love you. I'm not about putting people on blast. Is that enough? Or was that? Okay, here's one thing though. When you come to the masjid, some people will come to the masjid, but they want to come as they are on their own terms and rules. I am wholeheartedly against that. Do you know why? Okay, why is it okay for you to say, accept me as I am, but it is not okay for the masjid to say, accept me as I am? Why does your accept me as I am, why does it take precedence over the accept me as I am as a masjid? Okay, that's confusing. No, that's confusing, right? Breakdown? How much are you trying to pay? Okay, listen. When people say accept me who I am, they want to come, they don't want to follow the rules of salat, they might want to come, dressed, inappropriately. Again, we're not talking about your race. We're not talking about you to change the color of your skin, the style of your hair. We're not talking about you to change your height, the color of your skin, the texture. We're not talking about that. That you cannot change. But we do want you to come, for example, when you come with shorts to the masjid, under your knee, that's considered awrah. Okay? In other words, your clothing is supposed to be under the kneecap. So if you're going to, and that would be awfully arrogant for you to say, man, why don't you guys just accept me as I am? Why don't you guys just be glad that I come to the masjid? You came to the masjid, habibi, not for me. You came for yourself. You're not doing us a favor. That has to be said. You're not doing anybody a favor when you come to the masjid. Bro, you ain't doing nobody a favor. This has to be said. People feel like, okay, I'm going to come to, you're coming to the masjid for yourself. I don't get paid extra when you come. So here's the thing, right? When you say, accept me as I am, why is it okay for you to say that? But it's not okay for the masjid to say, why don't you accept me as an organization, as a masjid, as an institution, with our guidelines and policies, why don't you conform before setting foot in the masjid? Do you guys get where I'm going with this?
Yes.
Why should we give in to your accept me as I am, but no one wants to give in to the masjid's way of saying, accept me as I am? Where you have to come dressed modestly, respectful, you have to obey the laws, you have to obey the rules. We want you to come dressed modestly, cover your aura. Why does your accept me as I am, why is it more sound or more valid than the masjid's accept us as we are? If you think yours is more valid, that's egocentrism at its finest. And I hope that wasn't confusing.
No, that was clear.
Does that clarify?
What is egocentrism?
Very clear.
Egocentrism, basically, it's ego. It's the ego. That's the epitome of ego. In other words, you think that, here's the thing. Brothers, listen up. Sisters, it is ego in nature for you to feel like everybody and their mama has to change except you. Why does the masjid have to change? The board has to change. The khatib has to change. But you, no, don't change. No, don't change. That's dangerous. I'm being sarcastic. Why does everybody have to change for you, but you're not willing to change a bit? No, really, is that a legitimate question or no?
It's good.
Why does everybody have to change except you? Why? I'm just curious. Man, the khatib has to change. The board has to change. The imam has to change. Everybody has to change in the masjid. And then when everybody changes, then I can come to the masjid. Why does everybody have to change it? What about you? Like, maybe you have to change. Oh, that's not even part of the discussion now. That's what gets under my skin. I feel like my voice is going dead, but it's still right. Any other questions, Michelle? Habibi. Very good. Okay. When people say Happy Thanksgiving, what do you say? Can I Google it real quick? Can I Google the answer? No, okay, hold on. Okay, the reason why I talk like this and I feel comfortable talking like this is because I feel like I'm part of the family.
You're right.
I don't talk like this with other communities. I have to really tone everything down and be the political. My brother, my sister, please allow me to explain. Islam is a beautiful religion. I'm real with you guys because I feel like I'm part of the family. Okay? I feel like I'm part of the family. I feel like I'm literally part, like from Mogadishu, literally. Okay, on a serious note, what do you tell people when someone says Happy Holidays or Happy Thanksgiving? Okay, for Christmas specifically, I mean, it depends on the place and the context, right? You can just say thank you. You can say I appreciate it. What I usually say is, wow, I can't believe it's that time of year again. Some of us get on the defensive. Sorry, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. They mean nothing by it, really. If you have a way of explaining why, and you're in the room, but if you're at the cashier, you're at the register, people are going by, you can't sit there and spark a conversation. You have people behind you, the lines have to keep going. Sometimes it's, I remember this lady said Merry Christmas to me a while back at the coffee shop. She said Merry Christmas, and I looked at her and I said, I can't believe it's December and we don't even have, if you're in the quickly now, explicitly, do you celebrate Christmas? You can't say, well, yeah, it's that time of year again. No, that's not what they asked you. Do you celebrate Christmas? Now you have to come out and just say, actually I don't because I'm a Muslim. We don't believe in Christmas. You say that confidently. You don't have to beat around the bush. Well, no, but we have like a Muslim version of Islam. You know, no, we don't have a Muslim version of Islam. No Muslim, you know that, right? Islam is, we try to Islamify everything. Everything we want to Islamify. Habibi, does that answer your question? Habibi?
And that will be the last question.
Okay.
You go to the club?
Oh, do you go to the club?
Yeah.
They mean like the halal club. Okay, yes.
He said no. They said, why? Muhammad comes there. Why not you?
No, Muhammad was not. That's my boy. No. Okay, look, yeah, that's a good question. Oh, here's the deal, right? So, our brother right here, he's at work, and non-Muslims will ask him, hey, do you go to the club? And what's your name? Abdullah says, no, I don't go to the club because it's not permissible. Like, I'm a Muslim, I can't do that, right? And then they look at him and they say, well, how come Muhammad goes to the club? Like another Somali or another Muslim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's confusing. That's confusing. That's like me when a woman pulls out her hand and I'm kind of like politely saying, sorry, please don't take it personal. It's out of respect that I'm not going to shake your hand and please don't take it personal. And then she goes down the hall to the whatever and he's like, I'm the moderate Muslim. It's a pleasure. That sends mixed signals. So what does that mean? Muhammad is extreme because he doesn't go to the club. And the boy who goes to the club is the moderate, cool, Americanized Muslim. Same thing with me. I'm the extreme guy because I don't want to shake hands with the opposite gender, as an example, right? And the Muslim, just like literally on the other side of the room, it's just, hey, Linda, it's a pleasure meeting you. Nice. I wish you the best. Hey, Jennifer, you too. Hey, and he's like, just hugs. And you're like, yes, salam. So now you're extreme. And Muhammad is he's understanding the times he's living in because it's America and we're a minority and we have to shake their hands. And 10 years from now, we'll start, instead of shaking hands, we'll do the hugging. We'll hug so long as we got a good heart, right? Yeah. So, anyways, it's confusing. There's not an answer for that. You can just say, in Islam, it's not permissible to go to the clubs because that environment, it's an un-Islamic environment. Yeah, it's confusing. Last one.
Yeah, that's it. Time's up. Let's make it this last one.
Okay, Habibi.
You will be the last.
About judging the book by its cover. And is there a way to go about criticizing or advising certain individual depending on situations? For example, let's say that there's a woman at a religious conference that doesn't wear hijab. Rather you go in there to criticize her, she's actually a person who's a non-Muslim, wanting to revert at that situation. Is there like a way to criticize or either advise a person depending on the situation?
Advice, here's the thing. I remember Sheikh Al-Tarifi. I mean, you're familiar with Sheikh Abdul Aziz Al-Tarifi. Abdul Aziz Al-Tarifi. Fakkallahu asam. I mean, he was on television. He was on television. And the lady wasn't wearing hijab. That news anchor wasn't wearing hijab. They were talking about the ruling of music. As he was talking about that, he said, "Dear sister, I just want to tell you that the hijab is a khalifa for the Muslim woman." He gave her advice right there and then. Right? And this is what sets Abdulaziz Al-Tarifi apart from a lot of others. As'alullah an yafukka aslam. As'alullah an yafukka aslam. I mean, but going back to you, brother, is when you see someone on a Muslim panel, the one thing that you want to do that is encourage them. Now, my country, what I just said now as an example, is you want to do it in private. You don't want to do it in public. Even if it's by an email, if it's by a text, or whatever it is, but you don't want to, hey, I got a question, so hey, how come you're not wearing hijab? It's an Islamic, necessity upon women and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it's hard. I think the most difficult thing to do today is to give advice. Well, it is so difficult because it's the nature of the time that we're living in that we're not taught to accept advice. And it takes a great deal of maturity to kind of suppress the ego and to be ready to accept advice. It takes a lot of maturity. It's not easy to give advice, and it's not easy to take in advice. People should not understand that. What I meant about judging people is that we're looking for their faults, or we put people on blast and we give them advice in public. I did not say that, and I don't agree with that. Yeah. Anyways, may Allah reward you all. Keep me in your du'as. And inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow we'll talk about shaitan and his tricks. And tricks are for kids. So